As a franchise, Halloween has definitely had its ups and downs. From the death of Michael Myers in Part 2, the failed attempt to turn it into an anthology series, and the many timelines that have spun out of Michael's return. One of the more confusing moments in the franchise is what's been called the Thorn Trilogy. The 4th, 5th, and 6th installments of the Halloween franchise are loosely, and I mean loosely connected in a way that, while I might not enjoy, I am curious about. So that's why I'm tackling it today. Making films is hard, and I in no way think of myself as smarter than the people who do it professionally. But things get in the way of that, and all I want to do is take my criticisms of these movies and turn them into a hopefully entertaining thought experiment on what might have been. Let's do this. So, these films are much less popular than other Halloweens, so I think before we get into the pitch, I should quickly go over what happens in the originals. Halloween 4, The Return of Michael Myers, delivers on the title. It sets up that he didn't die in Halloween 2 and has been in an asylum for 10 years. Then, in a shocking twist, he escapes, returning home on Halloween to find his niece, Jamie Lloyd, because for a while, Michael's motivation was just hunting down family. The movie ends with a shot of Jamie wearing a clown mask, standing on top of the stairs with a pair of scissors, hinting that the evil of Michael Myers has been passed on to her.
That's bad.
In Halloween 5, The Revenge of Michael Myers, we get Jamie committed and psychically connected to her murder uncle. Eventually, Michael captures her, but she's saved by Dr. Loomis, who's in these movies even though I forgot to mention him in the first recap. Michael is killed, but a man in black collects his mask, implying that the filmmakers wanted to end on a cliffhanger. One time skip later brings us to The Curse of Michael Myers. Jamie is grown enough to do what all young women dream of, escaping from her captors with her new baby. She teams up with Paul Rudd, defeats the cult that also does DNA experiments, and ends this run of films that gets completely ignored by Halloween H20. So yeah, these films are a bit of a mess, and how could they not be? Halloween 4 and 5 were released a year apart, so that's very little time to make a movie at all, let alone a full-fledged sequel. But the bones are here, specifically in what feels like were the original plans with Jamie Lloyd and the passing on of evil. Also, I got a comment on a different Halloween video about cults not being a good idea for this franchise, and I took that as a challenge. So I want to make them even more integral so it feels less tacked on. Starting there, I would include them from the beginning and get rid of the scientific experimentation vibe. The original concept of them was a more traditional, mystic cult as seen in the deleted scenes, and I want to embrace that. They will be a minor part in this, working mostly in the shadows. We can have them resurrect Michael at the beginning of 4 instead of retconning his survival. This can be done by the mysterious man in black figure from the 5th film moved up here. Their goal is to harness some great evil force through him until they discover Jamie and her sister Rachel. I don't want Jamie to be a relative in this, but instead a random child who witnessed Michael kill her parents, but did not show fear looking the shape in the eyes before Loomis can save her. From there, Thorn would view her as an opposite to Michael, a beacon of good to his evil. They will kidnap her and place a curse on her. This will let us keep the ending where it hints at her being the new evil. It also gives the cult more motivations. They wanted to use Michael as evil, and they see the potential good as something that needs to be corrupted. Before we move on to the next film, let's talk about Loomis and Jamie's sister Rachel. Loomis will be more of a backseat character here, mostly setting him up as a recluse, but eventually building to him helping Rachel save Jamie, and keeping him in play to witness the climax, and play a bigger role in the sequels. With Rachel, I want to set her up as what would be seen as the replacement for Laurie, even having her babysitting her sister like Laurie did with Tommy Doyle in the original. Essentially, the first half of 4 would be a shortened, soft remake of the first, with some mysterious, unexplained cult action sprinkled in. It's the second half that really shifts things, leading the Shape's actions to become more targeted, eventually shifting focus to Jamie, climaxing with her killing her sister. This brings us to Halloween 5, that will still be set in a hospital, but with some major changes. Firstly, I don't want Jamie to be a mute for most of this film. Instead, I want to do it more like a subtler version of The Exorcist, where she's being pulled between the evil that she's been given, forcing her to do harm to other young patients and staff, and her innate goodness. Dr. Loomis will be a major player in this, and this is where I really want to highlight my changes to him. I don't love the crazy version of him that we got in these, despite Donald Pleasance's performance. I think the danger he puts Jamie in is off base, and I would rather remove it. Instead, I want him to really be struggling to understand what is happening. Jamie's actions don't make any sense to him. They seem to go way beyond something like bipolar or schizophrenia, and he refuses to write her off in that way like the rest of the people around her are. This will lead him to tracking down Tommy Doyle, a Haddonfield survivor, to try and put together a case study. That reminds me, the first of these films, and much of this one, don't take place in Haddonfield, but in another nearby location. This means in 4, when Loomis hears of the Shape's return, he is joining in the fray as an active decision. It also means that Michael returning to Haddonfield under Thorn's guidance will feel like a big deal. It also means that we can depict the town in a much different place. The original sequels show how the town is having recovered from the events of Halloween in 79, but I like the idea of it not having fully recovered by the 90s. Specifically, since my 4th film is leading up to Halloween, and the 5th being set directly after, we can see the stark contrast over the joyous celebration of the holiday in our new town and the somber Day of Remembrance in Haddonfield. Tommy and Loomis discover information on Thorn, and it's difficult for Loomis to deal with. This is beyond his world in terms of belief, but with what's going on with Michael and Jamie, how can it not be true? This will be leading us to the climax, where Jamie, seemingly turned all the way to the darkness, will regain herself, allowing her to escape from the Man in Black as the hospital is destroyed, killing him in the process. Jamie won't be alone in her escape, Tommy will be with her, and they will be trying to figure out what to do next, as Loomis, who they thought had also died, finds himself with Michael and the mark of Thorn on his wrist. Okay, so this is where things get hard. I feel like I've already mined all the good ideas I could from the 3 movies and reinterpreted them for these first 2. So what's left for the final installment? Kill the cult, obviously. But besides that, I have no idea. When I do rewrite videos, I try to stick to what exists as much as possible, because this is like a game trying to put things together in a way that I think fits better. Early in my channel, I did do some videos that were essentially writing fan fiction, and that to me just feels like I'm saying I'm smarter than the filmmakers, and I don't think that. But goddamn, do I wish I could bring back Laurie Strode for one last final showdown in this. I think instead we need to bring back Jamie's sister Rachel. Are we retconning her death from a prior film, potentially making that moment feel hollow in retrospect? Sure, but I'd argue that that kind of stuff fits in with the true spirit of this franchise, so we're good. I also think it would be more thematically resonant to bring back Rachel than Laurie here. Laurie has her story in the first 2 films, and this trilogy is about Jamie, so her sister's return just makes more thematic sense. Discovering that she didn't kill her sister and staging a rescue from Thorn can be a big moment for Jamie, giving her both the confidence and strength in numbers needed to take down Thorn and stop the Shape's rampage once and for all. They could discover Rachel is still alive from Loomis, who is trying to dismantle Thorn from the inside. He succeeds in doing so, but it will cost him his life. Taking someone down with him, either the leader or Michael himself, but I'd rather save him for the younger protagonists. They deserve to kill their bad guy in their movie, you know? I think that about covers it. Sure, there's details missing, but this is more of a big picture pitch. Do I think cults should be in this franchise? No. Do I think I did a good job making them more integral to the story? Yes. And that means I succeeded here. Besides, Halloween is a franchise that keeps reinventing itself, retconning whatever it wants, so what's the harm in a little cult era? Eventually, I really think I should talk about Season of the Witch. It definitely has a lot worth going over, but that's a video for another Halloween. You should definitely subscribe for that though. Also, while you're doing that, like the video, leave a comment on your thoughts, pitches, and changes. Did I make cults work? Is it a waste of time? Is this franchise as played out, if not more so than Friday the 13th? Definitely more so, that's my opinion. But leave yours down below, all that stuff, and until next one, have a good one.